Okay, good morning. I propose that we start. If you wanted to enter and to take your seat. So, good morning. I am more than pleased to welcome you to this global networking forum this morning, and to see that we have already a number of people, in spite of the fact that it's quite early, but I know that many others are coming in spite of the rain, and there's, as you know, some events in Paris which are linked to the terrorist attack we experienced a few days ago, unfortunately. But today, the first GNF session will be a report on the results of the International Space Forum at ministerial level, which took place this past February in Nairobi, Kenya. You remember that 18 months ago, we had, following the initiative of Professor Roberto Battiston, President of the Italian Space Agency, we have the first International Space Forum in Trento, in Italy. And after that, we decided to organize another one in Nairobi, Kenya, and a number of very important people from IIF and from space in general attended this meeting. And during this very high-level meeting, important aspects, in particular regarding the socio-economic development in Africa through space, were discussed. And to report on this discussion and to give an overview on what is at stake for the African continent, I would like to call on the stage the President of the Italian Space Agency and former Vice President of IIF, Professor Roberto Battiston. And I would like also to welcome Dr. John Kimani, who is a lead scientist from the Kenya Space Agency. So, Roberto, John, you have the floor. Thank you.
Just a moment for technical adjustments. First of all, good morning to everybody. I'm very pleased, in spite of the time of the hour, to be here to report to you about the result for the International Space Forum in Nairobi, and I'm particularly pleased to be here with Dr. John Kimani, which has been an essential supporter and collaborator in this regard. Of course, this is an initiative which has seen the participation, strong participation of IAF, and let me thank again Jean-Yves Legal, President, Italian Space Agency, and the Kenya Space Agency, and has been a second step of a process which has been started in Trento basically a year before. Under my mandate as IAF Vice President for Science and Academic Relations, we have analyzed the fact that the participation of academia, universities all over the world, in particular in the emerging countries and developing countries, could be improved within the frame of the IAF participation. And reasoning on that, we understood that this could be particularly relevant if focused, this issue to be analyzed and developed and solved, if focused on the fact that the academia, the universities are at the starting of the education chain of the human resource and human competence chain, which eventually get into the industry, into the field of the professionals, into the research related to space. So starting from this consideration, we decided to develop a tool which would positively influence at the ministerial level the decision-making process related to education, high-level education in space, science and technologies. This also fit nicely with another process to which IAF and Italian Space Agency and many agencies are participating too, which is converging to Unispace plus 50 and to the Agenda for Sustainable Development, which also put education and technology for people and for societies at the first place among the. As I mentioned before, we started in 2016 in Trento, when we got a representative from 35 countries and 7 international space organizations. At that time, International Academy of Astronautics was also participating to this effort. ESA was there. Professor Jan Werner was participating to this forum, and that was the moment we started the process. Encouraged by the success of this meeting and by the statement on space, the Trento Space Statement, which was adopted at that time, we agreed to proceed into a series of regional meeting and forum. And the first one has been proposed and eventually decided to have it in Africa, in Kenya, so to open the African chapter, being Africa obviously a unique continent because of resources, amount of habitant, potential for development, already initiated and developed space activities, and a large potential for growth. And we entitled the second forum, which took place in February 2018 in Nairobi, Space Science and Academia for Sustainable Development in Africa. And I mentioned the organization. We had this time clearly many more African countries, 29, more than half of the total 55, I guess, and 13 international organizations and space agencies. So was, from this point of view, a real success in the participation. The countries are listed here. They go from north to south, from west to east. And I must say that for me, I think also for all the participants from Europe, was really an event to meet so many representatives of so many countries in Africa discussing about space at different level of maturity, but with a common interest and goal of using space for developing their countries and making use of the beneficial effect of technologies, space-related technologies through education, through capacity building. The organization which participated, they were from, of course, from Europe, like ESA, UNOSA from United Nations. We got also participation of the Space Generation Advisory Council. We got participation from clearly a number of countries, like France, Germany, the European Center for Space Laws, and of course IAF, and also China, Israel, which show that there is a broad interest in this process, even at regional level, in the various important agencies and institutions which work at the international level in space. So the purpose, I mentioned that at the beginning, was to stimulate discussion at the level of decision-making people on how space science and education can support the understanding and exploitation of space benefit for Africa's socio-economic development. As you know, Africa has an agenda 2063, an ambitious long-term agenda for development, which nicely fit with the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. Global issues call for global agenda and long-term agendas, and so we are entering with this contribution to space, education, and exploitation of potential in those extremely important global goals, which are and will drive the peaceful effort all over the world for development and for solving the global issues working together. We got three interesting and powerful keynote speakers. Baratan Munsami, which I think maybe is even there. Yeah, thank you. On capacity building, Jan Werner, which clearly everybody knows, on environmental sustainability, and Simonetta Di Pippo from the UNOSA, which is about space partnership. Following the scheme we adopted in Trento, at the end of the meeting we adopted the African page, stating basic common goals, like supporting dissemination of space knowledge and technology transfer, promoting networking among African universities and academia, and promoting access for African universities and academia to the global space network to foster the development of an indigenous capacity building. I mean, clearly we are contributing to a process which in Africa has already started. There are space agencies in various countries, and there is a very precise actions to create an African space agency, which kind of resound what Europe has done with ESA as an example. And so the participation of Europe and from all over the place, IAF represent the world from this point of view, in this capacity building nicely fit and support and help a process which is now taking speed in Africa about space. Then we have the opportunity, the participant had an opportunity to visit the Boroglio Space Center, which is a couple of hours of flight away from Nairobi, and is on the coast. People may remember that the Boroglio Space Center is where the program, the San Marco program, started in the 60s, launching satellites and rockets for almost 20 years, and now is serving as a receiving, transmitting station. Basically all the Ariane and Vega launches from Kourou, the Chinese space station, and all the equatorial satellites. So it's a very active center from the telecommunication point of view. And this was an opportunity to visit this center and to understand how this could be utilized as a tool to implement the process that has been described in the African chapter. One thing which we are now considering, has been announced there, is to start an international center for higher education inspired in Africa, inspired to something like ISSI in Switzerland, which will collect young people from African origin, trained by professors from Africa and from Europe and also other countries for short stages, aiming to develop programs and projects, maybe small satellite, a nano satellite, or designing constellation, this kind of projects which are typically very much engaging, very powerful in training and increasing the capacity and the knowledge, and to be done collectively, involving the countries which are interested in space in Africa, and we had already some conversation with some of those countries, and to promote also international cooperation within the continent, which is clearly a very important step. We have contributed to the final report, which include the main topics and the result of this meeting. There is also a very nice video which you may eventually see. And we also took a decision at that time to start the process for the next edition of this International Space Forum to be in 2018. The previous one took place in 2018, but was named 2017 for a number of reasons. And this one is named 2018 and hopefully will take place within 2018. And we have Otherwise, we'll do it in 2019. So what? But we hope to get it 2018, unless political instabilities, you know what. And the interesting part of this that will take place in Argentina, and clearly will be devoted to the South America countries, which also are playing a more and more important role in space, and the organization is starting soon. I think this combination of collaboration between ISF, ASI, and the other participating agencies has been extremely helpful, and CONA in this particular case will be the local space agency. I thank you for this attention, and I hope that this will be useful for IAF for number one, getting more participation for those countries, and number two, to develop more and more these unique capabilities that IAF has of making a large network of competence and knowledge, which helps everybody, I mean, from the largest to the smallest, and can really reach out for the most diversified countries, regions, and continents. I think now I will invite my friend John Kimani to make a few remarks about this joint effort.
Thank you, Prof. I don't think I will belabor the points that have been put very clearly by the professor. Just to emphasize that, as he has said, yes, we had a very successful international space forum, the 2017 version, which was held in 2018, February, in my country, Kenya. I want to take this chance to thank the partnership, the partners, the collaborators, starting with IAF, pointing out the President Ligar himself, who was also in Nairobi and made a statement. The Italian Space Agency, like the professor has very clearly explained, Italy and Kenya has had a very long relationship starting from the 60s. One of the themes, one of the topics that were being discussed, we had 3 topics, was international space cooperation. And I think the Space Forum is a good example of how international space cooperation can have vibrant effects. The other 2 topics, like he has explained, the first one was capacity building, that was very well tackled by one of the key speakers, Dr. Val Munsami, who is the president of the South African Space Agency. So we want to thank you, Val, for having availed yourself. The third one was environmental sustainability, which was tackled by Dr. Simonetta Di Pippo, the director of UNOSA. And it would have been wrong if I was not able to take time to say thank you to those. And the last one, of course, on partnerships was tackled by the Director General of ESA. So we want to thank you, Director General, for having come. Like the professor has also said, we were able to come up with an African page, the African statement, which will be an addendum to the statement that was made in Trento in 2016. We had a meeting yesterday where we were discussing emerging nations. And I think Kenya is one of the biggest beneficiaries from interventions that are being made by the International Astronautical Federation. And I was posing a challenge. I don't know how these can be replicated in other countries in Africa. I already see a lot of change in the way the decision makers in my country think, the way the policy makers look at space and space applications. I would like to report here that last year, courtesy, I think, of the intervention that was done by the professor here in 2016, from the Trento meeting, the government approved the establishment of a body that will guide space activities in my country, and I'm coordinating that. So I think it's not a challenge. I think I want to thank IAF and by extension ASI for a job well done. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this very clear explanations. Do we have a questions perhaps on what has been said by Professor Battiston and Dr. Kimani? Yes.
I found very interesting the idea to develop this center for education you mentioned, Roberto. Where is going to be located?
The natural location for that will be the Malindi station, the Broglio Space Center, and we are working around this idea, but clearly has to be organized by a board of participant members, which are going to contribute mainly from the teaching and education point of view, and the chance of this center will be really to gather from many different states, both the students and the teachers. This is and clearly has to be African centered with contribution by European agencies and national agencies from all over the world. So the idea is to have it in Malindi, and we are working on that to make this proposal happen in a reasonable small amount of time.
So thank you, Roberto. Another question? Okay. If not, once again, thank you very much, and congratulations, because this forum was very great, and what we have in front of us is great as well. And I think that today the ISF is a very important initiative that brings a focus on regions where space is an important tool for their socio-economic development, and so we look very much forward to the next ISF focused on Latin America. Perhaps before closing the session, I would like to present to the audience a short video, so if we could send the video, please. Do we have a sound? No music. Ah. Okay, so thank you very much, and once again, congratulations for this very successful event.